So, this is the third grade exam, and this is the reference material that students are provided in third grade. Now, again, when we're thinking about the assessment and how to use it to help you, it can gauge your understanding of the TEKS, right? So you need to have a strong understanding of this document. It is the law. It's what our students have to be, what they need to know, and the things they need to be able to do, the skills they need to acquire for mathematics elementary. And they start assessing the students with the STAR at grade 3, but it covers everything from before, right? All of those skills layered on top of each other. And as I was saying before, each one of the grade levels has a particular focal point. So look at kindergarten. We'll look at the primary focus in kindergarten is understanding counting and cardinality, understanding addition as joining and subtracting as separating, comparing objects by measurable attributes. That's the primary focus. All of the knowledge and skills are going to be in for the purpose of that goal, towards that end, so that they can be masterful in this, and they're going to develop in knowledge, concepts, and skills below in order to achieve this goal, this focus. For first grade, the primary focus for math in the first grade is understanding place value, solving problems in addition and subtraction, and composing and decomposing two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional solids. So important, applying place value, solving problems involving addition and subtraction. So before in kindergarten, we just wanted them to understand that addition was adding more and subtraction was less, right? Now we're having them solve problems. In third grade, which is the first grade that they get assessed in by the state. In third grade, the focus is on place value, operations of whole numbers, understanding fractional units. These focal areas are supported throughout the mathematical strands of number operations, algebraic reasoning, geometry and measurement, and data analysis. This is important, guys. Sorry. In grades 3 through 5, the number set is limited to positive numbers. So in numbers and operations, students will focus on applying place value, comparing and ordering whole numbers, comparing them and ordering them, which one of these are bigger, putting them in order, connecting multiplication and division in grades 3 through 5, understanding and representing fractions as numbers and equivalent fractions. In algebraic reasoning, the student will use multiple representations of problem situations, multiple representations of the same problem. So like the word problem, like write it out in its like equation, and it's or like write out the word in the different ways you can represent the problem and the solution. Determining missing values in number sentences. So again, that's again ordering of, they need to be able to order and compare whole numbers. And number sentences represent real world relationships using number pairs in tables and verbal descriptions. This has to be so if you see them using real world relationships, and I did this one with my girls myself. So when, my dog died, and my girls are in first and second grade, and so they're learning, we were doing measuring actually, because the 3 puppies that we had, 2 of them were doing really well and thriving. They had like just taken so much from the mama dog, and Snow was really like small and was not thriving, and everybody said that he was going to die. And so we fed him more and more often, and it was harder to get him to eat, because especially in the beginning, it was just, he would not eat as many ounces. So when we were taking note of it on the whiteboard, we'd write how many ounces he ate and add them up. And so the girls got really good at like not only adding up like end of day totals of ounces that each dog had eaten, but they had like, they could compare, like, well, Snow has still eaten eight ounces less than Tiger, and 6 ounces less than Nyla or whatever. So they were like comparing and using real world. And I told them, girls, this is math that we're doing, like, and we're adding the different times that they ate together. And so it was really cool. They did really well. And we used math every day. We bottle fed them just to keep track of all the ounces that they ate per day. And I told them, this is math. This is math. So they haven't done it yet because they're not in third grade. Neither of them are there yet. I think they are doing, yeah, they are. They're adding and subtracting, double digits. They're just not dividing yet. So when we go through each of these, you have to keep in mind that there are both knowledge concepts and particular skills that they need to have in order to achieve mastery in these TEKES. So describe the mathematical relationships found in the base 10 place value system through the 100th thousands place, all the way through the 100,000s place. And so getting them to understand that each one, they need to understand the relationship of that. That means we have to illustrate the relationship best. And the way that we illustrate it best is not via just like talking about it, but we want to, like, if you look on, and we're going to do that. We're going to do base 10. I'm going to do base 10 blocks. So we need to be able to, these are base 10 blocks, the old school ones. These are printable base 10 blocks. I like using this here to get them to understand. So obviously they understand base 10s. Oh, sorry. Obviously they'll understand base 10s in a more simplistic way in the first grade, right? In the second grade, but already in the third grade, they're being asked to understand the relationship all the way through. What was it that I just said right now? What place was it? I'm having difficulty finding it again. Through the 100,000s place. Ways to show a number. And so this is what they were talking about, being able to like describe things in different ways. Like they can show numbers in different ways. This is the standard form. They need to know different forms of numbers and forms of showing. Base 10 form here, we can break it down that way. How many millions? Thousands, 10,000s, 1,000s, hundreds, 10. So they need to know through the 100,000s in third grade. And that's important to understand, because it'll say at different levels what place value they need to know through, or have an understanding of the way that numbers work in that place. So in third grade, it goes all the way up to 100,000. And I would expect that we get to millions in like fourth grade. But so they need, this is obviously a way, something that you would teach to your students that are in the third grade, because this complies with through the hundred thousands. And you could do 900 you know 99 so 645,200 excuse me 124. So and then you have the expanded form here. There was such a great resource. I'm trying to think of what it is. Place value. I like this way. But again, just looking at this, I can already tell you that this is not for third graders, because look, they're working with 3 million, and what ours went through 999, like all the way till that we were doing 100,000s place value for third grade. Represent a number on the number line between multiple two consecutive multiples. And use words to describe relative size of numbers in order to round whole numbers. So describing, we want them to talk about it and write about it. Anytime an answer choice has a student talking and writing about the math, it's going to be the better response, the better activity, all the way around. You see. So for this exam, obviously, the third grade math is going to be more simplistic, right? It's kind of like when the third graders finally get tested for math, right? In third grade, we're also checking their understanding a little bit for kindergarten stuff, right? They should know that. That's like a given. So when we go in, we have to know everything that they need to know as a given. And that includes having very good memorized knowledge of everything in the metric, like with the metric system. They are not going to provide you with reference materials, and they might provide you, and I don't even think they give you equations. So like for the sixth grade, which is obviously going to be more challenging and going to be a better, you'll get a clearer picture of your understanding of the TEKS and how prepared you are for math based on how you do on that sixth grade, fifth and sixth grade exams. But I would do one from each of the grade levels when you are practicing for this exam. And there is one for each grade level. It's actually 2 for sixth grade, because I think that that's the one that's like closest to the types of math that you'll get on there. And that means that you have to have these obviously memorized and be able to use them, not just memorize, but be able to use them. Have this reference material memorized and then know how to use it. And any of the areas, if you feel like in the TEKS, I don't know how to do this math concept or skill, just Google it. And you'll be able to very easily do it. Whenever we have a deficit in our understanding, it's because we ourselves as children didn't receive maybe the proper reteach or redirection or support for that area of need on a foundational thing. And it matters, which is why we know data collection and assessing and always looking to see how they're doing, checking for understanding is so important, because we have to be active and responsive teachers. And if we see students during our instruction via our informal assessment, walking around, listening to cooperative learning groups, checking their independent practice, checking their guided practice, even, and asking them poignant questions, or having, them come to the board, and you're collecting data and seeing that it's not jiving, then we need to find a new way of explaining, of illustrating, maybe using a manipulative to get them to understand that, but collect that collection of data. These questions are just going to be straightforward. They're only going to be questions over knowledge, concepts, and math skills. Your exam will be about both knowledge, concepts for math, skills for math, and your ability as a math teacher to plan instruction and assessment that helps the students learn the TEKS so that they can do well on these exams, and have the skills that they need to do well on these exams. So what strategies will you use in the classroom to help them define academic vocabulary? Always utilize visuals, always utilize tactile activities whenever possible, and manipulates, always cooperative learning groups. Going to my EC-6, so here's a math deep dive and EC. This needs to go down and down. So here's one for math, math manipulatives, and this is over place value. And this is for 4th and 5th grade manipulatives. And she's talking about what matters for 4th and 5th grade, because there are particular skills, and what manipulatives do they need to better help them. 4th and 5th grade begins to get the students with those skills to think more abstractly, right? And they're at a time cognitively where they're just coming out of that area of being sort of stuck on the need to have concrete instruction, right? And so in order to help them go from that, those hands-on, those manipulatives helps illustrate and helps connect those abstract ideas, illustrate them better for them, because they're still in that needing to see it, to understand it, to experience it. It needs to be concretely instructed. So I would certainly go through here, and I need to organize these a little bit better, because this one is about order of operations, and that's like 6th grade, and fractions is like 5th and 6th grade. Again, another 6th grade. Let me see, fractions. Let me see. Oh, but this is 4th and 5th. So I would certainly watch these and have your notes out. And this lady is so great. She has so many great videos, which is why I've posted so many here. And she obviously teaches like, math, 4th and 5th, which is a lot of math, 4th and 5th stuff. And I'm gonna move the math all together. But in some of these other ones, we go over and do some questions together. Can you hear me? It says my connection is unstable.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. I don't know what's going on with my connection. But one moment. Okay. So whenever you have an area of need in the, like, and I would start by taking the STAR test, read through your standards, take notes of your standards, and make sure that you as you're watching, have you watched the math videos?
No, not the ones for this section.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna organize them better so you can find them sort of easily. Maybe even all save them in another just like math core area. There are so many and they aren't disorganized. I didn't realize they were this disorganized. But in many of these we go through each one of them and deep dive. As you're watching them, make sure that you're writing down, for instance, here somewhere on your notes, excuse me. What the focus of third grade is understanding fractional units and operation of whole numbers. So let's go look for both of those things.
Hmm.
So we have order of operations. Here we are, fractions. What is a fraction? So they're beginning to understand, have how did they say it? Fractional understanding of fractional units in third grade. So the focal point is place value, operation of whole numbers, understanding fractional units, operations of those whole numbers, how we operate with the different parts. Whole, 1/2, a third, getting them to understand it in different ways, part of a set, part of a whole. Must have equal parts. And all of these ideas need to be solidified, because I'll bet when we move, and we'll go look at the focal point for fourth grade. So they needed to know the order of operations. Now they're going to use the operations, fractions, and decimals, describing and analyzing geometry and measurement. So they have to be able to go to a million and decimals to the hundredths using expanded notation and numerals. So they have to do million and then the expanded hundredths using expanded notation. Notation, we're in the fourth grade. Expanded form, expanded notation. Again, expanded form. Expanded notation. They don't need to just do expanded form, they need to do expanded notation. That means we need to be able to do expanded notation. Or represent it, rather. Represent comparisons using these symbols. But compare whole numbers, but all the way up to 1,000,000. They need to understand that 10,000 is less than 1,000,000. So super fluent with less than, equal to, or greater than. Represent multi-step problems involving 4 operations with whole numbers using strip diagrams and equations with a letter standing for an unknown quantity. Strip diagram. So as you're reading through these, when you see things like strip diagram, if you don't know what a strip diagram is, type in strip diagram, 4th grade. They need to be able to do a strip diagram. Addition, 13 plus 57 here, and put in different ways. Subtraction. So here it's addition and here it's subtraction. They need to be able to place it in there and understand the logic behind it, because these two parts added together make this whole of 60. We have 40 and 20. And this is strip diagrams for multiplication. So they need to understand this particular skill, this particular strip diagram, which is we didn't use, and they need to be able to even find it from word problems. So important. And I think they need to be able to do it when a letter like this. So Natalie bought an iPad for $319 and a PS40 for $454. If she started with 800, how much money does she have left? So here's the strip diagram for that. Although it doesn't look exactly like the other one, but that's essentially it. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, they have to know how to do that skill, which means you do too. Here are other strip diagrams and ways to utilize them. Do you know the total? Negative or divide, add or multiply. Find the total. So I don't know how they're using this, but another thing we're supposed to be all along the way is reminding them to check their work and making them aware. Oh, here's another way to use that strip stuff, and it's colorful. And you can have do this and actually have them do them on their own paper, and then go up and lift up the paper and you have it written down underneath there, or have them go up and write it themselves. Get them active, get them up, out of their seat as they are thinking about math, tactile activity. You can even do it with area of a model. Standard algorithm. Mom, dad, sis, bro, rover. Multiply, divide, subtract, bring it down, remainder. This is what we do when we divide the steps. And this is an excellent, way to have the students remember it, and have them draw their mom and draw their dad, or make up their sister if they don't have one. But this is a funny way to remember it. I've never heard it said that way. Right here, partial quotient. strip diagram again. Pictorial model, very important. Distributive property of division. Here is like example ones you do with your students. Sam has 25 toys. He gives his brother 12 of them. How many toy cars does Sam have now? And so they would have to like, you know, they could write the box up top and write 25 and then put a 12 here. So minus 25 minus 12 and then write the thing. And so whatever they get would be their answer, but the students need to know how to do that themselves. Determine perimeter. So let's jump to 5th grade and then we'll do 6th grade real quick. So the focal area in 5th grade, for 5th graders, the primary focal area is solving problems involving all 4 operations. So if you'll remember, we didn't add fractions until 3rd grade, right? 1st grade, they were doing really working with addition and subtraction, getting a handle on all of that within a certain tenths or hundredths place, right? Of their practice. So we're not making them do the 100th thousandths place problems in the 1st grade. I mean, they're doing particular hundredths place and they're learning about hundredths place in that within that realm, but practicing the skills and not division. But now at the 5th grade level, they have all of the operations. And I guarantee you now that they need to be utilizing the order of the operations correctly. So what we were just looking at right now, oh, did I make it go away? It was so good. The order of operations little thing that I just saved. I'm going to look up for it again. See if we can find that one with that cute little. Well, that one had a different one. Now the order of operations, they're going to have to make sure that they utilize. And to multiply, divide, subtract, whatnot. But they're going to have to use all of them. Maybe not all together, but they're certainly going to be utilizing all of them. Problems involving all 4 operations. No, they are going to be utilizing all of them with positive rational numbers. We're doing it with positive rational numbers. Remember, 3rd through 5th grade doesn't do negative numbers. We haven't taught them about that yet. And the other side of, the other side of it. Yeah, we're just trying to get them super foundational with the different types of skills, multiplying, division, place value, addition, subtraction, and identifying the math problems in words, right? In word problems, and determining and generating formulas and solutions to expressions. So they have to determine and generate a formula in order to create a solution based on, that's all an expression is. It's our problem for the word problems, right? And so they need to be able to determine what is important in a word problem, to generate a formula based on their knowledge of like the different pieces of a word formula of expressions, what goes where, how to utilize it, what's being measured, what we're looking for. And they have to be able to generate. So before we were mostly practicing with already generated, problems for them, but they have to determine and generate the formulas to these problems themselves and solutions. Extending measurement to area and volume. Now we were just doing perimeter, if you'll remember, up until when we were doing measurement, it was only up until it was only perimeter, and now we're doing area and volume. So they need to be able to represent division of unity of fraction of a whole and the division of a whole number by unit fractions such as 1/3 divided by 7 and 7 divided by 1/3 using objects or pictorials, including area models. Now, we just looked at pictorial models. And so on the test, they're not going to be able to use objects. Should you in your classroom use both at the same time always when doing this? Absolutely. You want to do this because cognitively in the 5th grade, they have to visualize 1 divided by 3 and 7 divided by 1, right? Or 7 over 1. So they need to see what it is pictorially. And we just looked at some pictorials right now. Let's look at some. And is that not how they're spelled? Am I spelling it wrong? Pictorial chihuahuas. Let me do pictorial model fraction. So here's a pictorial model a little bit. This is the dot one. Fraction models. Here we have the bar graph representation or the pictorial model where you do the little dots to represent. This is fun. Fraction amounts, 1/5, 1/5, 1/5 of 30. 30 is in 1/6 equals 18. That looks off a little bit. Another representation here. So the students should have a really good understanding, fluid understanding of like by grade 3, these different fractions solid, and then we solidify it in the 4th and 5th grade so they can utilize it and be able to represent it. So add and subtract, positive rational numbers fluency, represent solve multiplication of a whole number and a fraction that refers to the same whole number using objects, pictorials, including area models. Let's take a look at an area model. Look at an area model. They need to be able to do this. And that means if they need to be able to do this, we need to be able to do this. Partial products. They need to be able to show the partial products of the different steps, right? 13 times 7, and then so on and so forth. The different parts of the whole number. And here is the multiplication of it, like here's another area model. So it is 2,367 divided by 3. Oh no, that one's divide. I guess you could do it by multiplication. So this is the same thing. Just this looks weird. Oh, here's the area. Here's the area. This one is, it's called box clutter. Partial products is a way, and they're all ways for multiple digit multiplication, and they need to be fluent in all of them. They said them in, mentioned them because they need to have multiple means of understanding and getting to the product. So, and they need to understand the multiplication keyword so that when they read it in those expressions that, you know, how it says they need to be able to like formulate their own stuff in the 5th grade problem, their own formula, they need to be able to ascertain it. And so they have to know the language in which it's going to be written. So if they're said, well, what's the product of, or you know, times multiple factor, multiplication definition here, operation to find a product, repeated addition is multiplication, we know that. So a factor, area, total in all, and here you have the area, the box cluster for 728. So you could have 600 and let me see. 600 plus the 200 plus the 40 plus the 18. I just don't know why you would do that. This is confusing to me because it's never been taught to me. Has this been taught to you, Michaela?
I've seen it because I substitute, so I remember I saw that with 4th grade.
Oh my God, I'm
And
so mean to my own children. Am I
they
kidding?
were the ones teaching me how to do it because I had never seen it either. So I kind of understood it, but not too much. They were able to do the assignment because they already knew how to do it.
All right, well, we're gonna look at it because I don't know. And the thing is that they must have been doing this for a long time, and my children would say, we have to do it this way. I said, that is not the way. Like, math is math, baby. You just need to get, but it's because their teacher wanted them to. Anyway, so let's not do division, let's do the multiplication, right? 2 digits. Let's see. Let me see if I have time. Yeah, I have time.
Businesses are what turn a town into a community. So when it comes to keeping small business.
Welcome to Math with Mr. J. In this video, I'm going to cover how to multiply using the box method. Now, the box method is a different type of strategy for multiplying larger numbers. This method is similar to the traditional standard logarithm, but you'll notice that the setup is different. But what we're doing is essentially the same. The box method actually helps break down what is happening through the traditional standard logarithm, and it will show how and why things work. It will give a better overall understanding of multiplying larger numbers. In this particular video, I'm going to be multiplying 2-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. So let's jump into number 1, where we have 52 times 23. And the steps that we're going to use in order to solve this are
write these down.
On your screen. The first step, we need to draw our box. So for number 1, we're going to want to draw a square. And we're drawing a square because we have a 2-digit number.
Because this will help you with your own
multiplied by a
multiplication
2-digit
on
number.
the
So
exam.
both of our sides can be the same
And checking
length,
all your stuff.
A counterexample would
Do they
be
give you
if we had
a
3-digit
calculator?
number multiplied by a 1-digit number. That 3-digit number is going to need a longer side.
There's one that pops up on
You're
this.
going to have more of a rectangle.
Okay.
And the more you do of these, the better your spacing will get. So we have our box drawn, and now we need to split in half going this way. So we have 2 sections, 1 section for the 5, 1 section for the 2. And then we need to split in half going this way. So we have 1 section for the 2 here and 1 section for the 3. So now we have our box drawn. We can move to expand the factors. We need to expand them out to show the value of each digit. You may be thinking, well, what are the factors? The factors are the numbers we multiply together in order to get our product, which is the answer. So 52 and 23 are our factors. So let's expand out. We need the value of this 5 first. So how much is that 5 worth? Well, 50 because it's in the tens place. And the 2 has a value of 2. So we have that factor expanded out. Now we need to do the 23 along the side here. So the 2 has a value of 20, and the 3 has a value of 3. So our factors are expanded out and we are ready to multiply. So the first multiplication problem we're going to do 20 times this 50. And the answer is going to go in this top square here. So 20 times 50, we can use mental math. We can do 2 times 5, which is 10, and then put our 2 zeros back on in order to push everything to the correct place value. So 20 times 50 gives us 1,000. Now we can do this 20 times 2. So 2 times 2 gives us 4. And then we can place the 0 on the end in order to push that 4 to the correct place value and give us the correct answer of 40. We can move to this 3 times this 50. So 3 times 5 is 15. And then place our 0 back on the end here in order to push everything to the correct place value and give us the correct answer of 150. And we end with 3 times 2, which is 6. So we multiplied everything and now we are ready to add in order to get to the correct answer here. So we can do 1,000. I like to go greatest to least here. So 1,000 plus 150 plus 40 plus 6. Make sure you have all of your places lined up.
Oh, wow,
Notice
that
the
is
ones
quite
place,
clever and easy.
Tens, hundreds, thousands. Everything's lined up. And I want to go backwards here 1 second. The numbers that we are adding together here, these are called the partial products. They are part of the final answer or product. So let's add 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 6 is 6. 0 plus 5 plus 4 is 9. 0 plus 1 is 1. And then we have a 1 over there. So 1,196.
Very cool.
So on to number 2.
Box method. And so I'm assuming you can do the same for division, although I don't know. 3 digits times 1 digit box method. This is very good. I don't know why I can't. Oh yeah, I can. We're gonna save this in the EC-6. So, going through here and knowing what they need to know, is important. Just doing a thorough reading, knowing, having notes, that just where you'd broadly be able to say, oh, this is what they work on in 3rd grade. Like this is a skill they need to be working on and building forth. And you can see, at least a little bit, I hope, how the TEKs build on each other, right? How now they're working on like multiple operations all together, and we were just sort of introducing like the first ones, kindergarten, addition and subtraction, and then getting them to be experts with that in the 1st grade. Did I skip 2nd grade? feel like I did. I did. The primary focal area in grade 2 are making comparisons within base 10 value system, solving problems with addition and subtraction within 100, and building foundations for multiplication. So this building the understanding of the place value system is going to be very important for them to be able to use that box system that we were just using, right? In order for them, the students, to break down numbers like that and put the value correctly, like with the, what was it? 53, I think, or 56. And so the 5 represented 50. We knew that, so that he was able to put the 50 up there. So students super have to understand place value and how that works with numbers. And then also be able to do this. I'm gonna have to use it later. Understanding place value includes idea of counting in units, multiples of thousands, hundreds, tens, ones, grasp of number relationships, which students demonstrate in a variety of ways. So number relationships, and we're getting them prepared for more complex things in the 3rd grade. Let me see. Use concrete and pictorial models. Concrete means that they have to be doing it like hands-on concrete to represent or decompose up to 1,200 in more than one way as a sum of so many thousand, 100, 10,000 and ones, like representative of it. And you can do this with blocks and have, and one of the videos on that, in that playlist, she talks about the different ways that she teaches this. She uses the same manipulative, she just changes the value of the little cube. So the cube, instead of for having only one, like being only like 1 block, it is now 100 block. And so the one that has 10 is now 1,000, and so on and so forth. She changes them, and then they play with it in that idea, having it be representative of something else. Use standard word and expanded forms to represent numbers up to 120, not 120, 1,200. So they need to be able to represent, use and represent with the different forms. And last but not least, so remember, 3rd grade through 5th grade was more had a particular goal, like kind of a cumulative goal to get them to a particular place. And the reason is because they're going to be utilizing all of that information to do number and operations, proportionality, expressions, equations, relationships, and measurements and data. Students use concepts, algorithms, properties of rational numbers to explore mathematical relationships and to describe increasingly complex situations. Students use concepts of proportionality to explore, develop, and communicate mathematical relationships. Students use algebraic thinking to describe how a change in one quantity in a relationship results in a change in another. Students connect verbal, numeric, graphic, and symbolic representations of relationships, including equations and inequalities. Students use geometric properties and relationships, as well as spatial reasoning, to model and analyze situations and solve problems. Students communicate information and geometric figures or situations by quantifying attributes, generalize procedures for measurement experiences, and use the procedures to solve problems. Lots of complex stuff for our sixth graders. And that's why we were preparing them in the way that we were. They're going to be putting it all together, all of the different parts together, and learning about, you know, the nitty gritty, the pre-algebra stuff. So let's see. Classify whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers using a visual representation such as a Venn diagram to describe the relationship between the sets of numbers. And they're so good. Like, there's so many really good ones that they provide, like whole number. So there's so many ways for you to like do it. This is the Venn diagram that I like best. Here you have your whole numbers that are here. And you have your integers that are here, negative. And then you have all rational numbers. Rational numbers here. I don't have any irrational numbers. Later, they'll learn that there are such a thing as irrational numbers, but rational numbers, integers include whole numbers, but these are the negative portion of it, the flip side of it. Different classifications. 34 over 1 was the fraction example. These are the classifications. It's a whole number, integer, and a rational number. It's all three of those things. Then you have -7, which is an integer and a rational number. But it's not a whole number. And then you have 3 2/5 or 17 over 5. And that's a rational number, not a whole number. 0.6 or 6 over 10 or 3 over 5 is a rational number. See all the rational numbers, positive fractions. Rational numbers include integers and whole numbers. So whole numbers are obviously included in integers. This is why this Venn diagram works so well and why I like it. And rational numbers include everyone that's here. Whether you're a fraction, which is why we have it here. We have a fraction here. The fraction representation, still irrational, not irrational, a rational number. So sixth graders have to have, you know, understanding, and they need to, specifically it said they needed to represent it utilizing a Venn diagram, and that's one. So I would have the students create something like that in their math journals. What was I at? Proportionality, proportion, expressions, measurements, all particular things that they need to do. Describe the value of credit reports to borrowers and lenders. They have to know, describe the information in a credit report, which is really cool. This personal financial literacy portion of it. Mathematical process standards to develop an economic way of thinking and problem solving using in one's own life. So compare the features and costs of a checking account, debit card. I'm glad they're doing this. It's like important for them to think about those things, because I don't think that it was thought of enough, you know, back when I went to school. The student applies mathematical processes to coordinate, to use coordinate geometry and to identify locations on a plane. So, students have to know what a plane is and understand, you know, the 4 quadrants using order, pair of rational numbers. So now they have all the rational numbers that we were looking at, and they're going to be utilizing them on the graph. They're taking this information and they're placing these on a plane so that they can represent their equations mathematically begin to chart them, right? To use the math to find out number points on a graph. So I'm going to have to go because I do have another session in 2 minutes, but I want for you to, and if you want, start with the 6th grade one to see where you're at. If you haven't already taken one of these, start with the 3rd grade one.
And those I can just find them online.
They're in, you have access to the Google Drive, right?
I don't think so. Not to that one.
I'm gonna put it in my, did you get, you should have gotten it, but it's okay. Let me just send it to you real quick and I'll send it again, but just open it right now on your computer and save it in your web browser. That's usually easiest. And it's at the top in its own little folder, Math Star Release Test.
Okay, I got it.
And please make sure again that you memorize the things that are in your any of the equations, memorize them. Because I don't think that they're included on your reference sheet. I'm not sure if conversion is included, but I don't think that. Do you remember if they are?
On that one, I don't remember.
I think it says, let me go look really quickly because I want to just give the right information. But in any event, they should be, you know, memorized for sure. Is there a practice test available? No practice test. So look at the math section, and it does tell us. Let me see the section. Because this is the sample selection and they don't give it to you. They don't give it to you here. So remember what I said, what we were looking at, the TEKS and the STAR assessment, that's what the student needs to know and be able to do. You need to know that, but you also need to know how best to help them when they have a misconception or a misunderstanding in a part of their thinking. Like this one, there's a word problem and the student, I don't know what even is going on. Ask the student to solve the word problem. Show them one student. John says the answer is I can't see, I'm sorry. That's why I was having trouble reading. Like my eyesight is so bad. 2 plus X equals P. Which of the following activities will best help John recognize his misconception? So I didn't read this, so I don't really know, but it might be, I bet you, generating a model. So word problem, Paint store is having a sale, and for every gallon of paint customer purchases, the customer will receive 1 additional gallon for free. Right, an equation for P, number of gallon paints received in terms of X, and the number of I mean, I would say creating a model, but what would you say? Let's look up function table before we make our final decision, because I know it's not use mental math. That's not going to help. He needs help setting up, right? This teak, that the teacher's going over with them is the one where we talking that what we looked at, that they have to be able to find a formula to solve the equation, right? To solve the word problem. And here, that's what this is about, setting up that formula, right? We're writing an equation for how we would figure this out. So let's really quickly look at, oh no, I have to go. In any event, I'm sorry. I
No.
forgot I have to go. I have a session right now.
That's
Okay.
fine. I just had one quick question.
Sure.
For tutoring sessions, are they only in the morning, or do you have any other that are available